What's up, my future Air Force Generals and Chiefs? My name is Michael Inman, and welcome back to the channel. On this channel, we discuss being in the military, joining the military, and of course, my journey in the Air Force. In this week's video, we're going to be talking about what are the 4 categories of things that I feel like you should keep in mind as you're preparing to leave for basic training. Now, the 4 categories will include finance, general personal matters, fitness, of course a very popular topic, and lastly, mental preparedness. So let's start with the most exciting option, fitness. As you may or may not have researched, but specifically in the Air Force, we have a 3-part PT appraisal. If you score above a 90, like a 90 out of 100, you only have to take your PT appraisal or PT test once a year. But if you score under a 90, you have to take it twice a year. And so our PT test that we take, let's say, once a year, is made up of 3 components. First, we have the push-ups, then we have the sit-ups, and then we have the 1.5 mile run. So it would behoove you, before you even go to basic training, to kind of get yourself in the mindset that those are the 3 categories in which you are going to be evaluated physically. So what I would recommend to you, before you go to basic, let's say you have a month or more, which would be great, before you leave for basic training, is to start working up to achieving 60 sit-ups and pretty much timing yourself how long it takes you to get to 60 sit-ups or 60 push-ups. Because then at least you're setting the goal of I want to get to that number, but then you're able to, hopefully as the days go by and as the weeks go by, the number gets smaller, the amount of time taken gets smaller and smaller, or shorter and shorter. And so hopefully before you leave for basic training, you are able to do 60 push-ups in a minute. For sit-ups, try to do 70 sit-ups. And again, take as long as you want in the beginning, but continue to time yourself on how long it takes you to get to 70, even if you have to take like 4 breaks in between, just so that that time is getting shorter and shorter the more times you do it, and so that eventually you will be able to do 70 sit-ups within a minute. And so to specify, during the PT test, when you're doing a sit-up, and I'm not going to do it on my bed, just to show you, I thought about it, sorry. So when you're doing a sit-up, you want your elbows to hit just here, just right there. So you're coming up and just almost like tapping it. It does have to hit it, but you do not have to stab your thighs. You just have to tap both your thighs at the same time. Do not go for your upper thigh. Do not go for your knee, because if you do a sit-up right now, if you pause this video and you feel the difference, you will feel the difference. Like I'm not saying it's super easy, but like, it's a lot easier to do that many sit-ups at that pace if your elbows are touching your lower thigh and that is what you're counting as 1 sit-up. And that's exactly what the PT standards allow for. Hence, the higher counts are now more achievable than if we had to go all the way up to our knees. I would maybe get 12. I'm joking, but you get what I mean. Anywho, yeah, and then the run. That's kind of the same principle. Work up to running 1.5 miles straight without walking, and that I understand for some may take like 2 to 3 weeks to get there, but once you get there, just try to do it just once or twice a month. No, wrong. Try to do it once or twice a week. If you are really feeling ambitious, I would highly recommend that you work up to 3 miles so that once you get to basic training, 1.5 miles is just simple. Like, it's just that, not simple, but it will be very easy to digest the concept of doing it, and thus you will perform a lot better than most if you got used to, before you even went to basic training, if you got used to running 3 miles. So that is what you should be doing prior to leaving for basic training, fitness-wise. Working up to 60 push-ups, 70 sit-ups and a 1.5 mile run as quick as you can, but hopefully running 3 miles at least once or twice a week to make sure you are super prepared to do well physically at basic training. But now, let's get into some financial things. Where was I? For finance. First bit of advice. You need _need, which means underline, I think, or that's a total typo that I spoke. Long day, very long day. Anywho, you need to set up auto pay for all of your bills, or you need to find a trusted person. It could be your friend, it could be someone in your family who will log into all of your accounts, including debit accounts and credit card accounts, and general appliances and utilities, anything that you pay a bill on, including Netflix. And you need to make sure they're paying all of those bills when they're due. Now, I don't know if I necessarily recommend that, because that's a lot of trust. And we don't have to get into how much you should trust everyone. That's a different video. But I don't necessarily recommend that option as your first choice, definitely not. So instead, let's try this. Now this is going to sound crazy, but hypothetically, you should try to have about 1.5 months worth of all bills that you pay regularly. You should have 1.5 months, and if possible, 2 months worth of those bills saved and ready and in your account. Just ready before you leave for basic training. And I know that sounds crazy because a lot of us, including myself, one of the factors of leaving for the military was a steady paycheck. So how are you going to tell me before going to basic that I should somehow save up my inconsistent paychecks to an amount that is worth 2 months worth of bills before I even go to this new awesome opportunity? I know, big ask. However, sometimes, and I'm talking from personal experience, sometimes there's a delay in payment at BMT. And you're like, wow, it's the 3rd week and I still have no money. That's crazy, because 3 bills were due last week actually. So I don't know what money they're gonna get, because I did set up auto pay, but I don't think anyone was paid. So, first scary part, set up auto pay so that your bills are paid and you don't have to have everyone in your family or someone in your family knowing all of your logins, because that's odd. That's an odd choice. You can do it, but it's an odd choice. After that, you need to make sure there's money there in the circumstance that you aren't paid till week 5 of basic training. And that's a conservative, amount of time. Meaning, you most likely will be paid by week 5 of basic training. Thus, you should plan for that circumstance of not being paid till that exact moment. Because if you're like, I will definitely get a paycheck by the 2nd week, right? They'll get it together. I'll have money by then. And then you don't, yet these auto pays are set up. So then your Netflix is gonna pull from your account, your, electric bill is gonna pull from your account, your credit card payment's gonna pull from your account, and then your actual account's gonna say, you just overdrafted. You don't have money. So we're gonna pull from your account and put it even more in the red, and then, oh wait, you're below the minimum for this account. Because some accounts you have to have at least $200 in them, right? That's another fee. So you can very quickly be in the red, and sometimes your credit score can go diving, and not like a good Olympic dive. I mean like a sad, tragic YouTube video dive where someone thinks they're gonna dive off a board and then they just get ready for the jump, but then they fall off the board and then they just smack the water. Yeah, that will be your credit score. So, let's start again. Let's make it simpler. Set up autopay. Have money in your account so that you do not need to be paid immediately when you get to basic trading. Make it so that your bills will be paid regardless for maybe 3 to 5 weeks. And then, of course, you will receive all of the paychecks you should have been receiving at basic training in full. Meaning, if they don't pay you till the 5th week, you'll get all of the back pay they owe you from the day you arrived at basic training. They'll start paying that and making it all equal and fair. Next bit of advice. Cancel any unnecessary bills or utilities. So since you're going to basic training, if you lived alone, you about a month out should be canceling your Wi-Fi, canceling your water, for real, cancel any services, websites, apps, anything that pulls from your account or that you pay monthly or pay at whatever interval. Cancel all of them that no longer are necessary. So do that so that it's less money being pulled from you while you are waiting to get paid. If you are going to rely on someone to pay your bills, make sure that they know the precise due dates of all your bills. Because if you communicate to them something is due the 17th and they log in on the 17th, but it was really due on the 14th, and it just usually doesn't hit your account till the 17th, technically you just caused them to pay your bill late. Also, bring 2 to 3 copies, like written, typed up, or printed, I don't care, but 2 to 3 copies of the name of your bank, the account number and or numbers, and the routing number, so that you are able to set up direct deposit for your checking account from like connected to the Air Force, so that when you go to finance, when you get to basic and they're like, hey, where do you want us to send your money, that you're able to confirm it. Because you should have done that prior to shipping to basic. It was on one of the sheets. But just in case finance is like, that sheet was lost, yeah, we can't pay you unless you have your routing number on you. Do you have your routing number and your bank account number by any chance? You can be like, I do. Thank you for my coinage. Receipt, please. So, the next category, as we've already said, is personal matters. So we've already talked about physical fitness. How do you get physically fit while preparing to leave for basic training? We've talked about getting your finances in order before you leave in basic training so that we do not hit 0 or below in our accounts while we're at basic training. And now we're going to talk about some personal matters. And so that's kind of the catch-all for things that we may or may not forget. So I'm hoping this video helps you guys out. Firstly, who's getting your mail? Where is your mail going to go? Does your family live somewhere else and you're like leaving your apartment forever now? That means you would need to fill out a change of address request with the post office so that they start to forward your mail to maybe your family's place or your spouse's or your parents. Just ask yourself, where is my mail gonna go when I'm in basic training? Who's getting it? Who's collecting the mail for me? Figure that out. Next, what is the emergency contact number or email of basic training? Meaning, what happens when my family needs to get in contact with me because of a loss or an emergency, something of that nature. If there is a dire need where I do need to be reached or informed about something, then you need to provide them before you leave whatever the proper means of communication is in that situation. Now I forget, aka I failed to do this before I left, but I'm positive there is a number of, let's say, your squadron. I don't know if you're supposed to give it to your parents, but maybe there's an email. I'm sure if you go to the BMT website, there's some form of use this number or email to reach the squadron that your child is in, and we will find him or her and connect you to them if there is an emergency and you need to talk to them. Next matter, please give a 2 weeks notice to your job and don't just disappear. Now I know some will be like, ghosting would be ideal, maybe because it's awkward to resign and or you don't even like them. But for your own conscience, I don't know how to say that word. For your own conscience, for your own, be conscientious. For your own conscience, I think I'm saying it correct. For your own peace of mind, I would give a 2 weeks notice just so you know things were left on a positive, respectful note. But if that doesn't matter to you, it is your right to just disappear out of the blue. But I don't endorse that decision. And finally, please warn your family that communication will be low. Please tell your friends that communication will be very low, very limited. It's not like we get our phone every week. It's just not a thing. So I need your family and friends to not be freaking out when you don't respond for a couple weeks. Get over it, mom and dad. Kidding of course, and how to deliver the message. But please warn the people in your life that the communication will be limited for that 8.5 weeks, and the schedule might be a little changed this year and next. But so let them know prior that you will reach out when you can. But you are working very hard on becoming an airman, and it's taking up a lot of your time. And the final category of how you should be preparing to go to basic training is mental preparedness. Now, what does mental preparedness mean? It pretty much just means that when you go to the Air Force and when you experience basic military training, you are entering an entirely different world. The culture is different, the protocol is different. There's 50 to 60 other males or females that you are now having to spend time with, get to know, try to understand. So it's just a lot. And so pretty much as you lead up or as you get closer to departing for basic training, just remember to remind yourself, I need to go into this experience with an open mind, but also as a sponge, meaning say, I am here to listen. How are people behaving? How are the drill sergeants engaging with your flight? What are their behaviors? What are their personalities? Just try to figure it out first. Get a lay of the land. Try to learn what are the rules in this new environment, such as reporting statements. Hello, I am trainee inman, blah, 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 blah. That's not the proper reporting statement. I'll get to that later, don't worry. But once again, just learn the basics and get a lay of the land and then start to blossom like a flower. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the content and you are enjoying some of my other videos, definitely subscribe. I make a video every Monday, so I will be seeing you next week. I'm pretty sure what the video will be about, but I won't ruin it, and I also may change my mind. So have a great rest of your week. Thank you for starting it with me, and I will see you all in 7 days.